We got a lot of Spy Party today. It's gonna be the Summer Cup matches here. This is our last of the group stages. And then to shout it out, I do believe there's gonna be a Hidden Cup cast later too. So if you are looking for some Spy Party, you're in the right place. We're starting off with the Lushmoss versus. I've always known him as Jake Armstrong. His name is backwards for Jake, and if you try and pronounce it otherwise, you are in trouble. For what should be an interesting match, given how rusty Jake is expected to be.
Yeah, Lushmoss is also reasonably rusty. I think the last competitive event he played in was last Summer Cup. So two slightly rusty players playing each other. It should be interesting.
Yeah, we would typically go over picks and bans here now, but there aren't any. It's the groups of Summer Cup, so the games have been already decided for us. It's going to be Library, Courtyard, Ballroom, and a bit more spy favored maps to end it off in High Rise, Modern 4 of 8, and Terrace. Scout, you've been playing in the Cup. Have you been enjoying the maps?
I have. I was less keen on the classics beforehand, but there's nothing like playing them a lot to get to like them. And I've been really enjoying High Rise 3.6.
Yeah,
Having swap
exactly.
there is great fun.
Or
Uh,
microfilm, though it's really a preference, right? Most people aren't going to do both, but it's required that you have microfilm or swap when we get to high rise. We're going to be playing all 12 games, so even if it is not necessarily a close set, there are 12 games to be played, often for just tiebreaker purposes. But generally, if we're casting a set and we have lots of choices, which we do, we expect them to be close.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
I don't know.
I
Generally,
I think all of us are going in blind, right? Like none of us have
oh,
seen
none of
this.
us have
Yeah, none of us have
any
seen
clue.
any of
No,
this, so we're going in blind with
absolutely.
everyone. Yeah,
I'm looking
exactly.
at a library game with Jake as Papa Danger.
That's the first one I see. Should we get this show on the road?
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. Here we go in classic form. Three, two, one, playing it.
And we have Jake as Kane bouncing around. Not particularly going for AST or anyone, just books. And our
Oh,
ST comes to us.
if you
What a
give love,
gem.
the love gives back. 34% though. We didn't give him our full love with the white test. I think books are a very popular place to start on library. Just because they're actually the least suspicious place you can be, right? If you're at the windows, early time ads on library are very common and very powerful. That bug was very optimistic, but we do have a slow ambassador in Orange Sorry. One of the nice things about having a slower ambassador is it does make walking bugs a bit more likely, but that was very much us walking in two different directions.
Yeah, at least we had a bunch of cover from the pillar and general congestion there that's probably not been seen. We're zooming on this flirt, getting another white flirt and just going straight into center statues.
Yeah, this is a nice pace start. We are gonna eat a lot of suspicion for the highlight, and unfortunately, any dreams of like a really hard rush are a bit flummoxed by the fact that we have 65%. Ooh, that's on camera. Are we dead? The laser looked like it was considering the shot, but Jake has survived. The sniper here in Lushmoss does have time. They don't have to shoot immediately because there's no chance that Jake has finished 5 missions, but that bug was very much on screen.
Yeah, it definitely looked like there was a sniper double take. The question is whether Lushmoss will remember the suspicion and be able to differentiate it from just the rote statue highlight when it gets nearer to us finishing.
Yeah, as I was saying before Jake rudely bugged, 65% is a bit rough because it means that you can't just do another white test. He will have to hit a green test if he wants to hit the flirt in one more. He could obviously
Banana
do flirt
bread.
in 2 more visits. Banana bread, laser was around, so they may know that we are in with the real. We looks like a really randomized cast because Smallman as double agent is not particularly common. Usually, you want to have Smallman as a suspect because of the incredible suspicion of being a small man.
Yeah, and it's not even like on library we can hide that much as Smallman. It's Smallman.
Yeah, it's more the time ads, right? Like if you can do a time ad in less than 2 seconds. Really quick reject, but it's not a purloin. Don't worry, we still only have 3 missions done. 2 minutes on the clock. A lot of good pace, but we must be high suspicion.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Laser isn't really watching us all that much. If we could get some difficult fingerprints, we might be able to fly under the radar.
Yeah, the problem with difficult fingerprints with the way bookcases work, if anybody touches the bookcase, we really need to be there immediately. We kind of are in position to get to the green bookcase if need be, but I would prefer if we just go there now if fingerprints are going to be our way of finishing. Flirt also makes sense. This is close enough if we hit the green. We do not.
Oh, oh dear. 96%. It's slightly sad.
It does feel like the laser's been lingering on Toby more than anything. I feel like if we purloin, it will potentially just be our doom as the spy. Obviously, the sniper, if they miss the bug, which we'd be surprised if they did, could really feel a bit in the dark here. There really hasn't been much done by the spy to like alert the sniper that a spy is relatively close to finishing. The timer flirt here is definitely a choice. I'm not sure I appreciate it, and that's why, with the seduction target leaving, we are now put in a tough spot.
At least we're doing the hard chase. Hopefully this will work out and we can indeed finish.
Banana bread.
That was an
Oh,
action priority.
almost assuredly. We did the banana bread when we probably should have been doing the flirt. This is going to have to be a swap. We cannot do inspects here despite the fact that we're at middle statues. And if it's not the swap, it's the incredibly quick pickup. Lushmoss is all over it though. A really solid shot. Maybe also just the leave after the talk. Just everything about it. Feeling a bit suspicious and in addition to the middle statues earlier and the bug being on camera, the shot makes sense, right? I don't think this was too surprising with the knowledge that we had uh, and probably Jake too. I think Jake knew that this was a tough spot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially going to statues right after a second banana bread, because you're already kind of tilted from that. So, brutal ending.
Also, most of the other highlights in this party were knocked out by that second banana bread, which is pretty rough.
Uh-oh. I pulled into the next game, and guess who the spy is?
It's Wheels! Back again!
Yep, it's Lushmoss, which therefore means it is Wheels. He does have a little bit of variation. He will also pick maybe Queen, maybe
Wh-
General, but
Wheels
Lushmoss
will
is
always be
really
S2 though.
committed into 50-50 situations. And if you're the sniper and you know this, highlighting Wheels at the beginning of the party or the beginning of the game might be an idea that I would suggest. But let's see what Wheels is going to roll up to in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And
This
we're
is
doing
also
some
a Lush.
AA.
Yeah, this is a Lushmoss classic of picking Wheels, which you already know he's going to do, and then AI controlling a little bit. It looks like he's taking control here and just was waiting for the settle.
Well, we haven't been highlight, so I'm going to presume that Jake might not be aware of this. There had been one match played before now, but it's surprising how many people can be unaware of just how mad some Spy Party players are.
Yeah, I mean, with something like this is just an innocent watch check, by the way. Uh, Lushmoss isn't a particularly like elite player, right? He's not someone that you're going out of your way to necessarily study because if you don't study, you just simply won't be able to win the game. Uh, and Jake is also incredibly rusty and been a bit out of the community. I would not be surprised if Jake simply does not know that he should be expecting half his games here to be sniping against Wheels.
I mean, it's a fair assumption. We've gone and picked up 2 side inspects and the obligatory highlight, and that's about it so far. I think I'd appreciate it if we started flirt at some point.
Yeah, I don't mind the side inspects compared to the middle inspects because you do expect to be doing either fingerprints or swap a lot of the time on library. and if you go middle statues early on library, what ends up happening is you then get one fingerprint from a briefcase, and you force yourself to end up visiting a statue anyways, when you could have just gone to a side statue and double dipped on that second visit. Lushmoss isn't doing much of anything, fingerprints or otherwise, though. We are just chilling in this very much innocent conversation. The only possibility here would be doing something like the purloin. We are doing it, and it is going to be a bit on camera. It's going to be a red test, too. This will flash. You can see the list flashing, and so does the sniper. Sniper takes what is going to be one of the easier shots to their sniping day. Just noticing the list flash back and forth, and there's really no question to who did it.
Yeah, red test purloin. If you see even part of it, that's the easiest shot you're gonna get given.
We say that. I don't want to jinx Lushmoss. I'm sure he won't red test anything else even more obviously. We move on to courtyard. This is a notably different courtyard than what we usually see. With more people, 18 people is a very busy courtyard, and I do believe to balance that out, we have 15 less seconds, making things like finishing your flirt or potentially something like fingerprints slightly harder. Uh, More likelihood that a civilian gets shot, but a bit more stress on the spy to go out and do things.
Yeah, I've personally been actually enjoying this courtyard a lot. The few extra guests really makes a difference and not feeling quite so exposed as spy. But let's see what these two get out of it. Do you want to continue counting in?
Sure. In three, two, one, playing it. Possibility for an early purloin or an early bug. We're gonna take the early bug, and it does not stick. Jake is zero missions complete in 8 seconds, which isn't to be unexpected, but that bug was really I would have expected it to land. I don't know what necessarily happened that made it not happen.
It was entirely off screen at the back of the statue as well. And we're so far being thoroughly disliked in that we went to flirt with our ST statues, hit a green, and our ST walked off on us, and have been walking the windows of shame waiting to get another chance, but it's not gonna get given to us.
Yeah, really trying to mind read the seduction target there on that pad landing, and seduction target does land on the same pad, but too far down to even get a measly 17% on the flirt. This will be a decent banana bread, especially with
Banana
wheels coming
bread.
in. It looks like it's just going to be Duke. Let's see what the reaction is to the banana split. Lowlights correctly red dress who was at statues, but no highlight or lowlight for Jake. It seems like the play has just been ignored instead of rewarded or punished.
Hitting the screen flirt, I think, makes a big difference to our win percentage,
Oh, for
and
sure.
we've now got 2.5 missions, and I'm feeling considerably better than I did 30 seconds ago.
Welcome to the courtyard problem, though. You will eventually here get our third flirt, or sorry, our second flirt. Uh, it will need a third though. But what would the fourth mission be? We could definitely gulp this drink and immediately bug if we wanted to. But the drink in hand is preventing us from doing it at this moment, and there goes the ambassador, instead replaced with wheels.
And we're just chilling. This has been quite a quiet party. We've had almost no statue visitors for a courtyard party, which
Yeah,
is a little
Jake
bit
avoided the
unfortunate.
highlight for the inspect, so I think is in a really good position from what you expect from this game if you're Jake. And it's going to be if Lush Moss is able to shoot for the fourth mission. It's not going to be fingerprints, but we do have three other options. And the ambassador is unfortunately just as far away from the rest of the party as possible. A bug here would be the worst decision. It's going to be
Yeah,
swap,
so
it looked like.
I mean we were behind the pillar. If Lushmoss isn't on top of this with rotations, we might get away with this.
We swapped straight in front of his laser. And Lush Moss rotates away to protect ambassador a bit, now rotates back. Lushmoss, yeah, just making sure, checking on the statue at least once every 10 seconds to not lose the game, but also checking the ambassador. I really like just the solidness of those last few seconds of the game, making sure that everything is safe from what are the three hard tells he's expecting: making sure Toby is covered, making sure the ambassador's butt is not being touched, and then coming back and shooting the spy. Really good stuff from Lushmoss, not panicking at any point in this game.
Yeah, if we want to take a quick look at that bug, because I know we were kind of talking about it early, like the very beginning, why it didn't take. If you want to take a look at it, it looks like it was started just a pinch too late in the apex of the bug, just outside. I think if it was started like a split second earlier, it would have made it. But real unfortunate
This is one
timing.
of the benefits of Orange Dress, notably, but also Pearls, is because of the slow walking speed, you can afford to click the bug later.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in this case, yeah, Jake, just because of the take control, clicked the button too late, and therefore doesn't get what would have been a very nice bug. If that bug had went and then he did exactly the same thing he did in this game, uh, Lush Moss would have been none the wiser. So, unfortunate.
Yep. Bugs. Bugs are either the most best bit of the game or the worst bit of the game, depending on the day.
Lush Moss staying on brand. We are now moving into Queen. We are not doing back-to-back wheels games, but this is still very much what we expect out of him. And let's just get it started in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
Making sure to have Wheels as ST just so we know that he's not cast. The only thing that makes me worry is if Lushmoss leans too hard into a Wheels frame and manages to time out while trying to do so. But we're here, our ST is here, and we've got a close white to start things off.
Yeah, conversations are quite full. We do have at least one person here at the statues in Disney, and General is also taking a highlight. But a banana bread here, like this would be a really opportune time for a fake. Less so with both the double agents and the suspected double agent leaving the conversation. But when you're in a conversation with your seduction target, you know that they're not the SDA, that it's going to be a known fake and that everybody is going to be more suspicious except for you and your seduction target.
I'm not quite sure why we left our ST to come and stand and use this conversation. We bailed possibly to try and join our ST at Windows, but I'm not going to do that. We
Yeah,
might be lining up.
when it comes to Courtyard, right? Like you can always go to Windows. This is a regular watch tech. Uh, but sometimes you just want to go in a conversation, stand there for more or less an animation cycle, and then walk away. Just so you aren't the person who visited Windows 5 times. It's not something that anybody's really counting, but instinctually it looks a bit more spy-like that you're breaking up your flirts by doing the same thing over and over again. There's no like painting pad to go to, for example.
That would have been a sick bug if we hadn't been holding a drink in hand. But
Yeah, both these guys have just been holding on to drinks and not going out of the way to gulp them a bit earlier than expected. I know Jake, in his attempt to get the swap off, had to gulp his drink, which means he hadn't even been sipping it that much. This could be
it's
a
one of the
bug.
harder things to remember.
Unfortunately, with Ambassador and Toby on the same side, a bug like that would be usually questionable, but the laser wasn't protecting it particularly well. Here's a
We're
time
at
ad.
time. I approve of this. We needed that. And so far, it's not looking like we've picked up any suspicion for a straight up white time ad.
Yeah, with the time ads, because the color changes when you're in a low time situation, it went from red to like yellow, which can be a bit more eye-catching than if you do them early in the game where it goes from green to a different color of green. But we needed it uh, with only one mission done, and I'm not really
Banana
sure who
bread.
we'd be expecting to get shot without the time ad. It's helping all of our win conditions.
Definitely. This banana bread, it's unfortunate in that the STA was out of conversation, but other than that, it was a very solid contact. And we're back at 30 seconds. At this time, we've got contact and seduce done. That was
That was a wrong
would
arm.
have been would have been brilliant because it was entirely off camera, but it doesn't. It does stick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it stuck. It was off camera and it was a wrong arm. So if he did catch a glimpse of it, it probably looking at the wrong arm entirely. And we're finishing off with inspects, despite the fact that we have a fingerprint in pocket. But Lushmoss is going to win this. Is there going to be any sort of overtime? There will be. It'll just be a few seconds. We could be the overtime shot. We do have a little bit of cover here with Toby, and Lushmoss really wasn't on the mind. Another spy going to statues and not eating a highlight. On courtyard, that's a sin. You can't really be affording to let spies be inspecting for free.
I think what's interesting is that this is very much a similar game to the one we saw before, except this time the bug sticks and the spy wins.
Yeah, Lushmoss here has the lead. I think Jake definitely has more competitive success than Lushmoss previously, but Jake also hasn't played since I want to say SCL 5, at least competitively. So Lushmoss taking the early lead here isn't to be unexpected, at least narratively. But Jake is going to need to pick it up here, and I don't think it's been playing particularly poorly, at least on the spy side. It's just uh, not being clever enough to avoid Lushmoss's so far solid sniper. We have Jake playing another powerful spy. Back to Kane, actually. I believe they did this in game one too. And we're on ballroom.
Indeed, we are.
Let's do it in three, two, one. Playing it. Starting right next to the Kane portrait because ballroom is incredibly gaudy. And straight to windows.
I've always
Another
been.
watch check, another not time ad. You are allowed to go to window pads and not look at your watch, guys.
See, this is something I've found amusing occasionally. Is that a lot of people have an urge to do something while at Windows. It's hard to not be clicking buttons, and watch checks are there.
This is either an action
Banana
priority
bread.
or an incredibly delayed. Uh, yeah, Toby almost gave up there. That was a good 10 seconds. The banana bread doesn't cover for anything. We didn't purloin. It looks like we just got stuck in action priorities and we're probably going for a very quick purloin.
I think that was a pretty nice BB though.
Yeah,
It
for a
doesn't.
fake. Unfortunately, it was real for us because Duke is the SDA and was in our conversation at the moment. But the conversations were quite full. Jake didn't get punished for what I'm gonna say is a mistake.
At the same time, again, the clock is ticking down, and we've got 32% flirt. And I'd ideally like to see either a time ad or some doing shit going on.
We do have Ambassador coming by us. This would be a really obvious opportunity for a bug. But with Toby there behind, I think, and the drink in hand, we're not gonna like wrong arm it accidentally towards the sniper. And given the time constraints, I would like to see it just walk across and walk towards General and Boots conversation. You can see a bunch of AI are doing the same path. Ambassador's not in the safest place. When you're a sniper, you really don't like it when the ambassador's at the back of these conversations because they end up with even more cover. But ambassador at the front of these conversations also isn't particularly safe. Uh, yeah, exactly. Like this sort of path by wheels just looks incredibly buggy, while Jake is just willing to do nothing except for
We did
red test player.
we did gulp our drink, which made me think maybe we were setting up for this bug, but it hasn't happened. Amber's now moved and is at least dropping some fingerprints. And here's a request and a purloin?
It's a
A
green
green
test too.
purloin.
Toby's gonna get bullied by Twin, and then come back around for Disney. If Disney rejects two here, I think we're in a great spot. This is really not that huge of a chain, but someone might die for it, especially with the banana bread that we did early.
I don't know if this has been seen yet. At least lights aren't being taken.
Yeah, Disney as the AI hasn't like gulped their drink or anything. There's no madness going on, and the game isn't over. So if you notice that the list is gone.
I think we've just noticed that the list was gone, given that zoom on tray.
Right as Jake was rejecting it.
Yeah.
This
I don't
is the
know.
one way that Disney is going to get shot, right? Has a drink in hand, potentially gets credited for the purloin, and is now doing a fingerprint. But Lushmoss, I think either is patiently holding or just doesn't know enough to really have anybody to particularly shoot. And there goes the clock. Jake really going for a BB and Purloin frame game, and Lushmoss, through patience or ignorance, just doesn't have a single person they can credit enough to be shooting.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Lushmoss seeing that purloin so late might have actually hurt us as spy a lot. If he was on top of that chain and had it down to two, Disney might have been far more likely to get shot there at the end, get doing briefcase and maybe having flirt. But as it is, just I mean, if you don't know who to shoot, shoot no one. You might still win.
Yeah, this is the Lushmoss lead, by the way, 4-1 now, and is back on wheels. Are you feeling wheels or queen for the next game? Not this game, but the really those were
I'm
the
gonna
only two options.
no, I'm gonna go right out here and hope desperately that we get a cowboy or something next game.
That's a funny joke. Let's watch a Lushmoss wheels game. There's plenty of them in the archive too. In three, two, one, playing it. Lushmoss cowboy, hilarious.
It's happened. It's existed. We took
Yeah,
control a
well,
lot faster this time, but didn't actually do anything with it, which I'm slightly sad about.
interesting double dip here. We're gonna eat the highlight for the statue, but we will get our flirt and the inspect. We missed the pad entirely. I think the highlight is still for the inspect, but that's the sort of thing that gets you shot when you're playing the dailies, right? And someone like Legorv is just waiting for new players to make mistakes. Veterans make the same mistakes too, and especially with Wheels' hitbox. But that could be incredibly deadly. This could be a queen frame if we swap this, or just finishing our inspects and hoping that we only get credited for the side statue. Both plays work. It's just going to be the inspects. And doing it in a way that's like a bit more AI like, right? Most spies aren't choosing to do statue to statue, especially 1 minute into the game.
And Amber's handily putting down prints on the same statues we've inspected, which I'd kind of like if we just went back and picked up those prints. We wouldn't get any extra suspicion.
Banana bread.
We're double talking here to get the flirt and the banana bread. Obviously could have been avoided if we hit a green banana bread, but we didn't. But with the amount of cover that we have behind these three people and the pillar, things like a double talk aren't going to be the biggest concern at this party.
No, I think we've got enough cover to not have to worry about this too much. Especially, I mean, both of these snipers aren't. They're a bit rusty. Double talks aren't the type of thing you're going to be most worried about.
This is another dangerous spot for the ambassador to be. Lushmoss also has the option to do Purloin here. We have options. It's going to just be keep our hand empty, which from the previous games that we've seen from both these players, definitely the right choice. We've been holding on to drinks a bit too much in general. This will be our timer flirt. We do finish the flirt there with a white test, Queen being close enough there for I think about 26%. So it's going to be our last mission. Are you feeling bug or not bug?
I'm going to bet not bug right at this moment of time. But what I really want to talk about is Jake's laser here. Um, it's a thing. Lushmoss immediately proving me wrong, going straight for the bug, straight into books, and we're not immediately dead, so I'm going to call this a spy win.
This is Lushmoss up 5-1. A little bit of a spin around at the end, but not really fully helicoptering or doing a 360. And yeah, as I said, Ambassador was in a dangerous place, and Lushmoss let it sit for a bit. Ambassador was kind enough to not move and takes the opportunity and takes the natural path straight into books. Definitely avoiding things like picking up another statue when not necessary. Just solid decision making there from Lushmoss has gotten them this lead. And anything I said at the beginning of this cast, where I said it was by the de facto someone has given us the game to cast, is in doubt.
It's, I'm still just on that bug which our hand did stick through Ambassador and it pillar covered us, and I'm a little bit sad that sniper rotation just lost us the game really there.
Yeah, this is the power of late missions, right? Like late missions, the sniper knows it's coming. You really are going to be watching these hardtails more than getting distracted by weird things AI do, or looking for low lights, or looking for catching a spy, doing something like a double talk, like we mentioned. But even despite that, I think we were watching for things like the swap, and the tray is always in danger on ballroom because of the low angle. Uh, Bug might have been our third priority, and that just wasn't enough to catch it from someone who otherwise had had a very quiet game beyond the double statue visit.
Yeah, guarding all the hardtails is can be difficult at times.
We are on to high rise. As we mentioned earlier in the cast, we do have the requirement of having either swap or microfilm. In theory, you could have both, but Jake has gone with swap as their sixth mission and is cutting purloin, which has its own costs compared to things like fingerprint. Let's do it. In three, two, one, playing it.
I'm a massive fan of swap high rise, particularly because it makes things like having swap on, which is normally a very fun but less wise choice, suddenly possible.
Yeah,
You started.
a lot of the value in regards to having swap or microfilm on is it just forces the sniper to rotate over to the right a bit more, and we're not just playing a glorified big balcony. You have to go look at, particularly at those two statues in the far right.
It also just gives the sniper a little bit more to memorize. There's actually quite a lot of statues here to get around at the start of the game, and the chaos traffic jam and high rise with Amber can make all of that quite difficult.
Yeah, if we are gonna do the flirt, I wouldn't mind a little twitch over to get the 51%. Uh, Jake disagrees and has actually hit two greens. So unfortunately, both of them were 49, and we've just totaled out at 98. Still not a bad spot. Smallman's dying. That's a dead Smallman, which is never a bad decision, but it definitely wasn't a good decision because it wasn't the spy. Uh, it looks like they were credited for both the fingerprint and then the banana bread, and potentially also the bug. Really just feeling that it might have been a small man rush from Jake, but that was not the case. We were actually having a very quiet game, just standing here flirting.
Yeah, I could totally see the bug getting credited. We're looking at it right now from the sniper PV, or like what a Smallman bug would have looked like, and I could totally see that getting credited.
I do believe he had a drink in hand, which would have made it a bit harder, but just the amount of activity there from Smallman in the last 10, 15 seconds. I understand a sniper just wanting to pop them and punish them and try and end this set really quickly. Actually, that if that had been the spy, Lushmoss would have forced at least a tie. So looking for a quick release, and it's just not to be in this game. Lushmoss could do it here. I mean, three missions you could definitely rush down. We have not taken Purloin, instead we've taken Fingerprint, so it's a bit harder to get a quick game going. But Lushmoss does have the ability to rush, has been good in the past, and is doing it with wheels again, which would have been my bet if I'd ever actually said what I was expecting him to play in the next game. Scout, do you want to do
I
the
mean,
countdown?
sure. So it's Lashmos as Wheels, Shock Horror, in three, two, one, playing it.
What's your favorite high-rise painting?
You know, I never actually really looked at them. There's something you stand at, but you don't look at them.
It's the blue one on the bottom left of the green bookcase is the best one.
That is correct. There is the big one above the couch, which is always a trap answer. It's not a painting that we ever look at, and more importantly, just because it's big does not mean it's better. This is Spy Party. In fact, actually, the most popular, not most popular, not, but most dangerous character is the smallest, because smaller is better in Spy Party in a lot of cases. We've got a really quick start, by the way, while we're chatting. Inspect and Flirt. This book has nothing for us because there's no microfilm, but a good start here from Lushmoss in the first minute.
I'm intrigued
Getting
that we went to side statue and inspected the middle statue, which is going to force us to go center statues to finish here. but we might not be intending on finishing this.
We could also go to any of the other pads. Like we have lots of options in regards to statues, and from what we've previously seen with Lushmoss, I think if Queen goes to statues, we'll meet her there almost every single time.
And we're hard chasing this flirt, which, to be honest, I approve of. Queen's having nothing of it and is immediately dumping us.
With Seek leaving, Lushmoss won't know it, but this would be a fantastic banana bread. Instead, we're hoping for a very questionable bug hope. Oh, there's a briefcase in here. Couldn't see it because of wheels. We're starting fingerprint, and actually, this is actually a good way to end the game, right? We can have this fingerprint and the statue. This is not how you return this fingerprint, by the way, but I'm not 100% sure. Jake knows. We did not get the print off the briefcase, by the way. I think this briefcase has been touched by many people before us. Still looking for the prints, though.
Yeah, when you've been to a when you've had one briefcase that hasn't given you a print, it's always a little bit worrying trying to complete prints because there's just another that Sniper's going to see. And I'm not sure if we're shot for being wheels or for finishing statues, but we're shot.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to force two flirts. We've done statues. And we could be credited with both prints, right? If there was a print credited on that briefcase, not that there was, but briefcases very often have prints. We didn't need to hear banana bread to be able to justify that shot as a sniper. And from what we've seen too, uh, if it's wheels and it's a Lushmoss game, it's not a terrible shot when they're this active.
Certainly not. So that's Jake starting to pull it a little bit more even. Sweeping high rise here.
Rdarren's a tough map. It's a huge map. There's lots of people, and with the change to any 4 of 8 from 5 of 8, quite a long time ago at this point, you can put a lot of pressure on the sniper with something like Purloin. Jake did do that in their last game, and didn't work out for them. They tried to do that on Ballroom, right, where it wasn't last game, but they tried to Purloin and Banana Bread and see if someone would die. Didn't work there. I'm interested to see how they approach Modern, which has a lot of the same aspects, but with a bar Purloin.
Indeed. And we have Jake as Kane for the third time this set. If we're ready.
Hmm.
In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah,
So,
Jake's
I mean,
saying in chat that he had no ideas about wheels at this point, but I mean, this is his third game. It's not like he's been much better about his picks. Uh, Really nice bug. It's a cane bug. Cane bugs are historically good, a bit worse after having to be nerfed because of how good they were. And this early in the game, where you're still memorizing statues and trying to pin down who's at the bar, I feel like Jake, especially without the highlight even for statues, has gone away with murder so far.
yeah, I'm intrigued that we don't seem to be highlighting for statues here. And Jake's just going for it, finishing inspects right up front, and again, apparently not being highlighted.
Yeah, there is a really nice rush plan right here if you hit the green swap, but it's such a bet on actually hitting the action test that it's really not that advisable. But if you do hit a green swap there, you can go run into a conversation and do a banana bread, covering for your own swap and getting into mission win countdown. Jake is going, it seems like, for a bit slower plan with what will be a 32% flirt. A good amount because you can get two 34s and still finish your flirt without needing a green test.
Yeah, and at this point, we can afford to just chill a bit, finish our flirt, get a contact, and given that neither of our statue visits seem to be seen, this should probably be a spy win.
Yeah, Jake was in a good position there for behind the back if the ambassador decided to go to the back corner of the party, but Ambassador did not do so. So we're just here chilling in, not particularly close to our selected target, but still seems like going for the timer flirt. And with another green, it puts us at 65%, which is not a magical number. Uh, we got 32 and 33%, but we needed 34 to be able to finish without another green. This might slow us down tremendously. Not that Jake is particularly low on time.
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes. Even if we take the slow, we should be fine. The only risk here is if the double agent suddenly decides that they have things to be doing for the last minute and a half. But we should be fine.
Yeah, Jake is playing like he has a highlight, and he should, right? If you did an early bug path and then two statues, you fully expect to be highlight, but we simply aren't. And maybe there's some other logic, right? Maybe the highlights are being used for drinks, and we actually do have more suspicion than is implied by our current lighting situation. But Jake seems to be in a really good spot, despite the fact that we only hit well, three greens, but unfortunately three greens from very far away.
The other two people who have been at statues have picked up highlights, so I wonder whether we were just entirely missed.
It's kind of absurd to expect it for two different visits, but actually it's kind of powerful to not be highlight for the second inspect at least. When you highlight for the second inspect thinking it's the first inspect, you're in a much worse spot as a
And the end
sniper.
of red.
Just being ignorant of it entirely is better because you're not waiting for anything from Jake. We have 40 seconds to finish 2% flirt, though. Jake is likely going to win this, and I'm wondering how aggressively they follow this seduction target. If seduction target goes into this conversation, there's plenty of room. We should be fine. It's just a choice of how quickly we talk, but I don't think it's going to matter. The sniper doesn't seem to have any true suspicion on us. Except this is why you potentially could insta-talk, is we're now in a tough spot. You're following seduction target across the map. It's going to be 15 seconds on the clock. We're going to be a bit respectful. Come around to the left side. Looks like we did it right at 10 seconds, so there will not be any overtime. And the laser is camping out some hardtails. Nothing related to our last flirt. That was a four flirt with actually, yeah, three greens. We didn't green the last one, not that it mattered. Seduction target really trying to make this game interesting, but simply because the bug and the inspects are seemingly missed. Uh, Jake wouldn't have known it, probably stressing out and sweating here, but relatively straightforward game for him.
Yeah, just a nice, solid game, really.
Lushmoss being funny in chat, saying that his official stance is that he has eyes closed for the first 15 seconds. For anybody who's trying to get better at SpyParty, don't suggest it. I think the first 15 seconds are the second most important 15 seconds in the game, along with the last 15 seconds. So missing here more or less like 1.5 missions, it feels like, with the bug and inspect. Lushmoss has shown a lot of quality here throughout the set, but has now lost three in a row. Uh, to be fair, that's his only one spy loss here, and Modern again powerful, but he's again chosen wheel.
I mean, if you're not being punished for it, keep doing what's working.
Yeah, I mean he was shot for it last time, right? But maybe he feels like the high rise game wasn't a particularly bad game. Just going double statues and doing double prints is just asking to be shot. Uh, Jake might not be onto it. He wasn't onto it last time, so let's see in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And is what seems to be a little bit more typical now, AI control until pad. I don't hate it. It's a way to avoid accidental car crashes in time of chaos.
One of the interesting things about Wheels Right is that people don't love playing him because his hitbox feels weird. But if you're Lushmoss, you have more experience with this hitbox than any other hitbox. To be clear, all characters act the same. They have the same movement. It's just people judge it poorly when it comes to Wheels because they don't really understand where his spine is. Uh, we do have 34% on the flirt. Again, I believe that was a green test 34%, which is just weird, but a good start there for Lushmoss.
Both spies being very respectful about flirt spacing. Um, I feel like this is being a little bit overcautious and has been biting us a little bit, but let's see how this goes.
Yeah, we've seen, based on the numbers provided by Wobble, On gallery, getting early flirts is incredibly helpful to your chances of winning. Modern is also a very large map. I would not be surprised if an early 51% flirt is a big deal instead of just something that you would like. I think it's almost necessary to at least get, say, at 34, preferably 51% early in the game, and just put yourself in a position to win. You don't have to finish flirt, by the way. There are other ways to finish, but generally, if you're doing that, it's using missions to cover other missions, and you have to be quite on top of things to be able to pull that off.
No, I have to say, I've really
Banana
liked this
bread.
delegate purloin that just happened, and now a fake, which unfortunately knocks out our taker. But we went and sat between two statue highlights, and therefore sort of had a guaranteed highlight taking the drink. Um, it doesn't seem like this is massively on top of, so we might have this fine.
Yeah, interestingly, didn't delegate to Queen or anything, not truly committing to the 50-50 idea just yet. I think the delegate was the Smallman, and Smallman has taken a highlight here at Windows, as has Lushmoss. Jake really just trying to solve the party and has the time to do so. Lushmoss is not close to finishing, so any puzzling out the party isn't being punished by missing missions while you're thinking.
That was a pass. It was something that could actually get you low against. I think
Oh
this was our actual
no!
taker.
That's I thought it was Smallman.
Nope.
Eh.
Yeah, that's who the taker was.
Yeah, I think had a good understanding of who was at the bar recently, but not a good understanding who did the purloin. And given Twin was already pilot before going to that statue, I think that's his second inspect. That with the banana bread said and flirt implied or assumed. That's potentially 4 missions. Shots from the sniper's perspective is justified, but he's not going to be happy about it. That's losing Jake's ability to win this set. The best that Jake can do now is
Banana
continue
bread.
to come back and get a tie potentially.
I have to say that was a really nice, solid frame game, and AI helped us out a little bit. I think Bling Twin was actually out. It's not Bling Twin, but he's highlight.
Oh, it was
Um,
Twin who took it. I apologize. I missed the purloin.
I think they were actually out for contact, and possibly were the only missed low light, and that's got to feel pretty rough as sniper.
Yeah, the secret when you lose is just don't look at your replays until afterwards. But beyond that, you really can't like take the lessons from a game and try to apply them to the next game too aggressively, because all you do is end up getting into your head. The more you start like getting concerned about your opponent, generally it just results in you getting into more time trouble. We've seen these players run into time trouble, I think, because of their conservative flirting this game or this set, but you don't want to be looking at that and going, "This was a mistake that I need to avoid," because it wasn't. You need to be shooting people who are doing 2 inspects and taking purloins, at least a proportion of the time.
Yeah, I think it was a really fair shot. Just a very nicely done frame.
Uh-oh. We have Jake, and Jake has been playing a lot of the Danger Boys. So in old art, there were 3 tall black characters who had different colored jackets, and they were called the Danger Brothers, despite the fact that all their first names or middle names were Danger and not their last names. We lovingly took this when the first characters were made with Popper Danger, who we assumed was the new art father of these characters, and then Salmon Danger, which is our attempt to name this pink jacket character under the same nomenclature. Uh, it means Jake has now played Dangers, I think, 4 or 5 out of the 6 games.
I think it's been 5 out of 6, and to be honest, at this point, we can start giving Jake as much stick as we're giving Lushmoss for spy picks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Papa Danger. We've played at least 3 times, but when you need a win, I don't think Salmon Danger is usually who you call, but I think his win rate's actually been very high in a lot of different tournaments. So maybe it is. Let's see what he's going to do with him in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Again, another AI control waiting till pad. When you do this, you do give up a little bit of power in regards to like very, very early bugs. But in general, I think it's a really safe thing to do and not a bad idea.
And Lushmoss is definitely already unhappy at this game, given Laser Shake. Um, Slightly unreasonably, given that the spy has done nothing so far.
Yeah, I mean, we could be credited with a flirt to Alice, right? We could definitely be credited with a flirt to Duke here. We're going to take it immediately, 34%. I think General is probably the person who's giving him such a hassle, though. Looked like it could have potentially been a bug, and General's bugs now into fingerprints are very suspicious. Didn't
Yeah,
work out
General's
for Lushmoss on high rise, though, right? He took a similar shot to what this would be from we're shooting General here now.
General started at statues and did quite a nice aborted pickup animation, but whether that's going to help or hinder you against the slightly less experienced sniper is hard to tell. And
Hmm.
General's just keeping on being a spy.
Yeah,
Get that
General,
flirt, run
go,
away.
going in, coming back. I think the big thing here is going to be if our double agent will ever bother to come into conversation. They do have a drink in hand, so they at least won't be going to the bar or statues. But they've been a nuisance here, and I think it's going to be a big deal if General and Disney are in conversation at the same time. If we do a banana bread here, it's with us and Irish getting credited for it. It's not a good banana bread with four people out and just nobody getting credited for it. The other option here is try and frame a purloin. And General is giving us the option. If we leave here and go grab the list, I think General is more likely to get shot than we are.
We're not failing conversation as he talks though, so it's making this seem, as time goes on, less and less of a likely plan.
Banana bread.
Okay, we're framing potentially here Rocker or Alice, who are the highlights with the real banana bread. Because there's only one DA, Jake knows that his is also a fake. This is a clear bug setup. We're actually just in range, and it's a really weird spot. But Jake is so far away from completing missions that maybe taking the bug is actually a mistake. Rocker has now been credited with the real banana bread. It's just gonna be general shot for flirt. General assuming that potentially we are the seduction target, either us or Irish, and taking the bullet there for what was a very early, I think, assumed bug in also double print play. Uh, I think it makes sense from Lushmoss's side, but definitely going to be one that he regrets. Just simply not watching clearly enough to not catch so much heat.
Yeah, and I almost feel like behaviorally General was a little too active that game, but it's definitely a really sensible shot to take.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the flirts, right, is it doesn't make much sense. Us and Irish just haven't moved all game, and so you're kind of assuming that General's flirting with us. Uh, if you're tunneling that hard, you might not be someone who generally watches flirt, but these are the sort of things that you can potentially do um, to just add a few percentage points to your win rate. We are now in a game 12, and Jake has won 4 of the last 5, now on Sniper on Terrace.
And Lushmoss has a chance to clinch a win. Jake has a chance to scrape a draw. It's Lushmoss departing from Wheels to Taft in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they had a conversation where Jake was like, "Have we just picked the same characters 8 out of the last 9 games?" And Lushmoss went, "Uh-oh." Because interesting animation there from Pearls, but Lushmoss is really committed into these early statues, is going to get the early highlight, and unfortunately I think Ambassador's going to get kicked out before we have any true plan of like shenaniganery. Standing at the statue there and bugging is not good, but it's definitely a thing that could happen. We are in range of Ambassador, but it's going to be the 44% flirt here to start. And Wheels has not taken a highlight here from Jake, despite I think the implied suspicion. But has probably been watched very heavily for the potential bug, because Alice has come by twice now.
And we're trying for Prince again. Um, I don't know. I feel like here would be a great time to do a hard frame on wheels, but I guess Softail progress, you can never really argue with that.
Yeah, we don't have to complete inspects or fingerprint, and if you really rely on the sniper paying attention, one print or one inspect are not crimes in themselves, because the sniper also knows that you haven't finished. Um, Obviously, touching things like the drinks here might accidentally get you credited with a second print, even if the ambassador has never been to bar. Um, Really just giving ourselves a bit of option and a bit of heat. It's medium risk, medium reward.
And there it goes, the wheels frame. I don't know how successful this is going to be.
Yeah,
It
the
feels
problem with
like
the frame here is if you're highly watching wills, you know who could potentially have sent it to. And Jake
we
doesn't believe in miracles. He has made a 5-1 comeback here. Won 6 of the last 7 games, something
Banana
ridiculous.
bread.
But sees, because he's potentially watching wheels a bit more, and because Lushmoss has touched so many things so far in this party, sees the delegate and is willing to shoot for it. And I think a good shot too, right? Like we had the banana bread here also being done uh there after Wheels had left, so Wheels can't have possibly have done the banana bread too. So it's not actually a frame. I misspoke a bit.
Yeah, I feel like this banana bread might have lost us the game, but if we'd waited for Wheels to get back in conversation, it might have made it more of a 50-50. But
Yeah, if you look at the top left of the corner and look at the missions, we were near Ambassador, notably. We've done Banana Bread, we've done Purloin, we started Flirt, we've started Fingerprints, we've started Statues, and if we're gonna finish
Banana
Statues, we
bread.
could also swap. Uh, we are on track to finish all 7 missions in this game, which isn't advisable. The reason it's not advisable, right, is you're just gathering heat for more things than you could possibly do to win the game. And precisely because we touched the briefcase and because we went to statues and because we are trying to frame wheels, who's Jake has figured out is more often than not the spy when you're playing against Lushmoss, this delegate Purloin, especially because of the banana bread, giving wheels an alibi, is just being hawked.
nice comeback from Jake though. Um,
Yeah, and I think it might be
so
important too. I don't know precisely how this group has been finishing up, but losing to Lushmoss would have really put Jake in a tough spot to be able to get out of groups.
yeah, I think in this group, T Flame has a pretty good chance of getting out. It sounds like our host might have more details.
I don't have details on anything. I'm just as blind as y'all. Unless.
Oh, okay.
But I do have details on our next match if we want to get on, move into that.
Oh, I do actually have it. So
Oh, you do.
T Flame has 2 wins, and still has one more game, I believe, uh, against the either Lushmoss or Cameron Juggler. Uh, Jake ended up going and losing to T Flame, but had a win against Cameron Juggler, and then Lush Moss and Cameron Juggler also haven't played. So in theory, Cameron Juggler could beat T Flame and Lush Moss. So that's gonna be a big ask, particularly for the T Flame match, to win the group. As could Lush Moss beat Cameron Juggler, and then it come down to things like tiebreakers. But Jake is in a spot where they don't have control of their own destiny, but it's not a bad spot as a result of this comeback. Same with Lushmoss. If Lushmoss wins, they need to win big against Cameron Juggler to be able to get out of this group. And uh, yeah, I think the result was fair. I think Lushmoss could have a bit more success if they didn't always pick wheels, but it's not like it failed them here. They were picking wheels and were up 5-1. Just need a bit more composure there at the end of the set, and they would have had this pretty handily.